Today's show is sponsored by the Multiorgasmic Mama.com. If lack of confidence, low libido, or guilt and shame around your sexuality are the cause of your bedroom woes, the hot wild sex you never have anymore, or the transition into motherhood that sucked your libido dry, let me help you get your mojo and magnetic feminine spark back. Magic, miracles, total self-love, and multi-orgasmic bliss included. See you at the Multiorgasmicmama.com. Welcome, mamas. It's Lacey Broussard here with a special guest, Sara Lopez. She is a certified hormone specialist and women's health coach. Hey, Sara, how you doing?
Hi, Lacey. Good. How are you? Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to share you with everyone.
Me too.
Let's just get to know you. You could just tell us a little bit about what you do, who you're serving, what types of things you're offering to the world.
Okay. So I help women who are transitioning off the pill and the IUD, and I offer hormone balancing coaching to women who are experiencing period and hormone problems. So I created an online course called Replenishing Joy After IVF. It's for women who have had one or more unsuccessful IVF cycles. And I'm in the process of developing a group program. It's called Self-Care Works, and it's for women who have adenomyosis or endometriosis, and just to increase the awareness about it and connect them and help educate them.
Wow, that's super useful for a lot of women that I know.
Yeah.
Well, what got you into this line of work? What's the story behind it all?
Okay, so 8 years ago, I had severe pelvic pain. I started to have just really bad period problems, really heavy bleeding, and I went to every specialist under the sun and kept getting different diagnoses, or the opposite is, oh, it's just a heavy period, you're fine. And I was just desperate because no one could tell me what was wrong with me. And I kept having different clinics just say, take the pill. You have to take the pill continuously. There's no other option. And people even used to ask if I was pregnant because my belly was just so inflamed, and it was super embarrassing. And, I also felt alone. I didn't know anyone else who had this condition or who was having these kinds of pelvic issues. So I did go on the pill. I didn't have any other option, and it was completely against my intuition. I really felt that this wasn't a great thing for me, but I didn't have another option. So that just kind of made my hormones even more of a hot mess. It's like I was a hot mess, now even more of one. And it just really covered up the problem and really just like the root cause of my hormone problems. And eventually the pill did not even work anymore, and I was kind of getting even some bleeding and problems on it, and I had to get off of it. So I really just looked to what can I do myself to empower myself, and how can I balance my hormones without a lot of drugs or synthetic hormones that have side effects. Mm-hmm. And I just turned a corner and just went full force into natural options and researching holistic treatments that I could try. And I've just been on that path from now until then, or then until now. And I realized in the last 2 years that I really want to help other women to take that path and to empower themselves to take charge of their hormone health, their pelvic health, and just to give them an option other than conventional medicine, or in addition to conventional medicine.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the things that you tried that didn't work?
Okay, so, oh goodness, I have a long list.
Okay, what are you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, I would say, goodness, hot water bottles, just everything, Advil. it really, the pelvic pain got to a point where I did even pass out a couple of times, and super scary. And that is really common, or it is common to have that kind of pelvic pain if you have endometriosis or adenomyosis. Um, Other things I tried is castor oil packs. Those definitely did help. And I guess the main thing I tried that didn't help was not looking at the big picture, looking at what can I do right now to try to make this better. And I just missed the entire big picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what did you do that finally cured it, or at least helped it?
Yeah, so really it's only been recently that I kind of figured out this whole puzzle.
Uh-huh.
What I found out was the women who I work with and who I learned how to do my training with, said it sounds like it's your adrenals. And I thought, how could it be my adrenals? That has nothing to do with my pelvis. And I got my hormones tested and found out my my levels in my adrenals were completely off.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened is we're under, as women, so much stress, and we're just expected to do everything and be super women. And we just don't take time to rest. I wasn't taking any time to rest and do enough self-care. And so I was constantly under fight or flight response, and that just stopped all my hormones from being able to get to the right levels. And just my adrenals were completely depleted. It's called HPA axis dysfunction. Super common. Because our entire body is connected. So, the hypothalamus in our brain gives a message to our pituitary gland. Our pituitary gland gives it to our adrenals, and then our adrenals produce hormones.
Mm-hmm.
So what we don't realize is that all our thoughts, anxiety, stress, all that gets translated to our adrenals and then to our hormones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah.
Although I have a biology chemistry background, that was so long ago, I barely remember these things anymore. And most recently I've done JDEG and Taoist trainings and have learned a lot about traditional Chinese medicine. And one of the first things that we really work with in doing JDEG practices for women is working on the adrenals and the kidneys in particular. There's a big focus on the kidneys, and I knew that I kind of knew the reason for it. It's the hormone producing factor in the female body. But I think it's so cool that even TCM and these ancient traditions knew that of the importance of the kidneys and the adrenals and how they contribute to a woman's overall health and well-being.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. Well, tell us more about hormones and period pain. What are women struggling with around this, other than the pain and the hormones being unbalanced? And what is, in your opinion, the biggest cause of the struggle?
Well, I think what women are struggling with is a lot of times feeling alone if they have period pain. There's just so much shame and silence around menstruation in general, and feeling like you can't talk to anyone about it. I mean, even my wife, like when I talk about my business and periods, she still says, "Ew, that's gross." And I think most of us have that reaction. We're trying to rise above that. But I think really it's a big problem is we feel like we have to stop the period pain right away, and that there has to be this cure that we have immediately. And I think what it really takes to overcome period pain is a lot of work and commitment to self-care, and it's really a gradual process, not something immediate. And I think a big problem, I mentioned the pill and synthetic hormones. I think that was a big problem because we have so much period pain. A lot of us, was on the pill for a long time, and that increases the bad estrogen in our body. And then when we try to come off of the pill, we really have a lot of hard time detoxing that excess estrogen.
So how do you do that?
Okay, so really, I would start. Actually, with any woman, start with finding times in your day to rest, because when we're constantly on the go, it raises our cortisol, and that depletes our progesterone and raises our estrogen too high. So period pain really often it has many different causes, but a very common cause is that your ratio of estrogen is too high to progesterone.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you ever use any herbs or steaming?
Yes. Yeah, I take a million herbs, and many of my clients do too. That there are many herbs that help. Really, I start with diet first, because when we raise our omega-3 levels in our body and decrease our omega-6 levels, that stops inflammation, and it's really helpful for period pain. And really the biggest way we could do that is eating dark leafy greens, and healthy fats. That's kind of the good news with period pain, is that if we eat enough healthy fats, that we can make more good hormones.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And as far as herbs, I would recommend every woman take magnesium. It's a calming supplement and vitamin, and really most women are deficient in magnesium, and it is really, really helpful for cramps. So I actually use a magnesium spray, and we can absorb it better through our skin than if we take a tablet or a pill.
Oh, wow. Fascinating.
Yeah.
I've never struggled with the pain so much as I have short cycles.
Short cycles.
Yeah. Do you deal with women that have, either really short or regular cycles?
Yeah, I do. So for irregular cycles, seed cycling works. You eat different kinds of seeds during the first 2 weeks of your period, of your cycle, that boost your estrogen levels so you can have good ovulation. And then the last 2 weeks of your cycle, you eat more foods that will boost progesterone. And that over time will level out your cycle to more of a 28-day cycle.
Wow. So eating different sorts of seeds.
Yeah.
I'm learning all sorts of new stuff.
Yeah, it's a time commitment. It does take a little while you have to grind them every day ideally. So, but it really does work.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yeah. And I love Mayan uterine massage and my abdominal massage. I think that's just great for increasing your circulation and regulating your cycle. Have you tried it before?
I haven't done Mayan abdominal, but I've had a lot of my birth clients do that. I have done Yin Sang massage, which is the Taoist abdominal massage.
Oh, yeah.
I have never been so sore. I felt like I was punched in the stomach,
really
15 times the next day. It was awful.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
So sore, but it was hardly from any touch. Like he was barely touching my stomach. He was just moving energy inside of it.
Wow.
I woke up and I thought I had just been beat up.
I have to check that out.
I know. Yeah. That's Teeny Song massage.
Yeah.
Let's talk about IVF and infertility. Did you go through that yourself? Is that what I heard?
I did. I had 3 unsuccessful IVF cycles.
Wow.
So, yeah, quite a long journey I've had. But really, I feel like there's so much judgment around fertility treatment and IVF. And again, like menstruation, it's something that society it doesn't really like to talk about much. We hear a lot about the babies being born in pregnancy, but the whole fertility journey is something that I feel like we could talk about a lot more.
Mhm.
And it really doesn't have to be something that is a secret. I feel like the word infertility is disempowering, at least for me. So I have recoined it for myself, and I say I'm a fertile woman who's had a long journey trying to get pregnant.
Oh, I love that. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
thanks.
And
Yeah.
have you had any kids yet, or is that still
No, I'm trying to adopt.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah, my wife and I decided we'd like to adopt an older child through foster care.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
And I mean, the one message I'd like to give women who are trying to get pregnant through IVF is that the medical system, we always hear like, oh, we've got to be pregnant by the time we're 35 or we're doomed. Like our egg quality just is horrible after that. And really, the research I've seen shows that it's more important that your pelvic health is in order and your hormones are balanced. And then it doesn't matter so much what your age actually is.
wow, yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah. And the other message I really want to share with women about IVF is my fertility clinic never told me about all the dangers and side effects of the IVF medications that I was taking. And you're on a hormone roller coaster. At that point, you get an email, take this, and this. And you really don't necessarily have just it in you to thoroughly research everything yourself, or maybe you don't know how. And that's really one thing I regret about IVF is just the medications and drugs that I took. I don't have too many regrets in life, but that's just one of them.
yeah. What would you
Yeah.
have done differently then?
I would have done, okay, so I know natural IVF, the success rate is not super high, but I would have done a natural IVF where I'm not taking any synthetic hormones, I'm not taking Lupron injections, my butt isn't hurting every single day from the injections.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have as high a success rate, but so what if I have to do it a bunch of times? It doesn't have that long-term danger as does from taking synthetic estrogen.
What sort of somatic or emotional issues do you find that might be kind of going on beneath the surface that contribute to infertility,
Mm.
pregnancy, and imbalanced
Mhm.
hormones?
Mhm. So there's a really strong link between endometriosis and childhood abuse. The research just came out that women with endometriosis often have had some kind of abuse or trauma in the past in their childhood. So whether it's a direct link like that to emotional issue and pelvic issues, or sometimes it's just trauma that's been passed down from your mother, from your great-grandmother, your grandmother, and that just kind of carries from generation to generation, even though we don't realize it, it's all just in our subconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think our wombs are just filled with water. They're mostly water, and we repress our emotions sometimes. We feel angry or we feel sad, and we're not able to express it. And we hold that in our wombs. And that can really cause some of the pelvic conditions that we have.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
TCM also speaks to that too, that
Mhm.
pelvic issues in women are usually due
Mhm.
to stagnant energy. So
Yeah.
stagnant energy, once it gets moved throughout the pelvis, then it's theoretically things should go back into a balanced homeostatic place, right?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and they use a lot of herbs and
Mhm.
steaming to help with that. So, yeah,
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So what have, and well, with the clients that you have worked with,
Mhm.
what have women already tried but isn't working out? And that you're seeing like, oh, well, if they just tried this, then it would probably help.
Yeah. The women that I've worked with so far, well, the birth control pill and the patch, I've had that a lot. And they've tried changing your diet sometimes isn't enough, or maybe you think they think they've changed their diet and there's really more they can do. And then another thing I feel like, you know, I have a client that's trying to get pregnant, and she feels like she's tried everything, different supplements. And then when I gave her the advice or asked her the question, can you relax? And she's like, oh no, I can never do that. I have no time. I have, I have other kids. I have a farm, and just I can't I can't do yoga, I can't do meditation, but I share with her, why don't you do breathing when you step out of your house for 1 minute before you get in your car? Because when we're deep breathing, we can't make any stress hormones.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And as far as what they could try, again, breathing. I always recommend breathing. And even if you make yourself a little note on your mirror or stick a sticky note to your door that will remind you to do it, an app. Um, Acupuncture has been really helpful for my clients and for period pain and pelvic conditions. And then just making a list of everything you have to do in a day, and then seeing what can you get help with, what can you say no to, what can you cross off your list and decide you're not going to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yes, to doing less.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love your advice on being able to relax and
Mhm.
pointing that out, because so many women have issues with just like, de-stressing and
Yeah,
down. Uh,
definitely.
it's crazy how much that factors into these sorts of issues when the
It
body
really
is in
is.
chronic, stress
Mhm. Yeah.
over way too much cortisol to make anything happen that you're saying you want.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The really, really interesting thing is, one thing that helps is, have you ever heard of The Upside of Stress? It's a book.
No.
It The research shows that if we view stress as a challenge, if we say, oh my goodness, I have this presentation, but I'm going to see this as a challenge instead of being so nervous,
Mm.
that even though our cortisol is going up, that our level, if we see something as a challenge, our levels of DHEA go up too, and that counteracts the cortisol, and it actually has a beneficial effect for us.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
The human body is just fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's different ways to look at stress for sure. I mean,
Mhm.
biologically, evolutionarily speaking, of course we have stress because it's like it keeps us surviving, right? If we
Yeah.
didn't have stress, we wouldn't go do the things we had to do uh,
Mhm.
to actually survive.
Yeah.
A tiger or a lion is chasing after us. We
Yeah.
need the stress so
Yeah.
that we can get out of the way and
Exactly. Yeah.
um, and that's a challenge. Yeah. So,
Uh, yeah.
but when we're doing all the worrying doesn't help anything.
No.
Stress that just becomes like self-induced stress.
Yeah. Exactly. I know.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, one last question for you. I ask everyone this on the podcast. What is one tip or trick that you can give on becoming a multi-orgasmic mama?
Ooh, I love this question. I think that having more orgasms the first 2 days of your period is just key to deal with period pain, because well, first of all, it kind of forces you to take some time off of work, which I finally did do this last period. And having the orgasms increase the oxytocin, and that's kind of your feel-good hormone, and it lessens cramps, and it also reduces cortisol to have those orgasms, and increases dopamine, which is our reward neurotransmitter. So orgasms actually strengthen your pelvic floor, and they increase the circulation to your pelvis. And
Yeah.
I recommend it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yes, more orgasms on your period to decrease the period pain. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
In case you needed more permission to have more orgasms.
Yep. I give you permission.
Awesome. Well, anything else you'd like to share with us today, Sarah?
That's all. Thank you so much. This has been really wonderful to talk.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.